friends. I'm glad to be back with you. Life's been kind of crazy wild, and I just haven't had time to settle down and do a craft at a time where I was had enough energy to do it. There's just a lot of busy, crazy things going on. So things are still going to be a little bit crazy. I'm getting ready to work the elections here locally next week, and that'll go for a couple of weeks. So I just wanted to get this one out to have one little Halloween thing. I had hoped to have a lot more, but maybe next year, or who knows. But this is a fun little thing. It's using cones. These are called Tussie Mussies, but or just cones, decorated cones. They're very quick. You can make them as complicated, as big, as small as you want. I made this particular size because I wanted to do something to give to some friends, and not to hand out, of course, at Halloween, because it would be way too time consuming to do that. But if you had a small Halloween party or something, or a teen party or party with your friends, then this would certainly not be too difficult to do for that. And again, you can downplay it, upplay it. I'm going to show you two versions. They both take about the same amount of time. It just depends on whether or not you're comfortable with printing and curling things, or if you just want to work with a cone. I started out, and this is a quick and easy way to do it. I have two different sizes of cones, but this one, this is a very small one, and I wouldn't bother with this size unless it was really for a kid's birthday, kid's Halloween party, and I was going to have very many of them, because this would cut down a lot on what you had to decorate. This stuff is pretty sturdy, but it doesn't hold up well to paint. It holds up great to stickers, of course, and glue, but it's just not sturdy enough to heavily decorate either this size or this size. They're flimsy. You can just do something like this, and of course just put put a sticker on it and take some Halloween style lace around the top. All you have to do is staple that on, and if you had a couple of little stickers on there, that would be more than enough. If you have papers that are similar to newspaper in terms of their weight, those would wrap around here super easy. So you can even find things like printed paper for gifts, tissue paper, and wrap with that. So you can do a lot of different things to make it fun. But I just decided, after playing with this and doing some other things with it, I just decided I wasn't gonna be happy with just the cone itself for my purposes. Now, if I were going to cut paper like shelf paper, or tissue paper, or really flimsy scrapbook paper type things, or napkins or something like that, I just took one of these. They tear apart super easy. Just cut and trace into your own design. This is cardstock. You can cut it, then it's a whole lot easier just to mass cut them out. And I made myself a permanent little pattern just in case I want to do something like that down the road. And these were at Target, and it was a big bunch of just these little cute stickers, which are just fine, for like a kid's party or a retro party or something like that. So these would decorate many of these little Tussie Mussies. So that's a possibility, just little stickers like that. So you could also, of course, use patterned cardstock. This is pretty stiff. It's double-sided, and I'm so stingy with my double-sided paper, I'm not sure I would use it for this unless it was going to be for just a few and very special friends. This is much lighter weight, white on the inside. If white bothers you on the inside, then of course you can put this kind of thing in it, which, you know, cuts down on that look. There's lots of things you can do so that this is not expensive. But what I decided to do was to create this little critter, this little gal. And I did lines. I created it, then I imported it into my silhouette and printed it on the back of 12 by 12 cardstock. And then this is printed on, I had made wide red lines. And so when I cut it, a little bit of red shows, which is what I wanted. I probably would have used orange if I'd thought very long about it, but it's fine. This is how it turned out whenever I stuff it with, you know, some goodies. I've got these flowers at Dollar Tree, and there's, you know, you can find this kind of thing lots of places really cheap, especially right now. They're starting to realize that people are not going to buy a whole lot of Halloween until because things are just so expensive, so they're dropping prices now. But I just, you know, put that little tool around it, and this will be just right for what I'm doing with it. It's not anything super crazy. It's just super simple and easy. And I've even stapled the back of these because when I line it with this tool, I staple it in such a way that the staples are not felt through this thing, so they're through the tool, so they're not going to cut people, but when they reach in and get their goodies. And so that's basically what we're going to do. What I did is I made this design. It's a composite design of elements that I have commercially purchased. So it is not something that's available as it is anywhere else. And I've made the pattern that is the size to make this little Tussy Mussy, which is a 5-inch cone. I will at the end of this video be making the link available to you where you're welcome to download this and cut it out yourself. You can hand cut this very easily because there's no fussy cutting. It's just to cut out the overall shape, and then when you turn it, and I'll show you that in a second. But I just ask that you please not try to resell this image or use it to print out things. You know, please don't pull that image out. I've got it flattened on this design, and I just ask for your courtesy in that. And I hope eventually that I'm going to have some more elements that you can actually purchase from me to make it easy for you to do some of the things you're going to see me do later in the year. Now, I printed this on the back of 12 by 12 paper, which I love because then you've got a design on the inside. And this is one of those recollections, you know, that goes on sale all the time. If they cut the pad by 2/3 down to 2/3, then there's less in the pad. But heavens to Betsy, I imagine you're like me, you've got more than enough cardstock. So just getting a smaller pack at $4.99 rather than a big pack at $9.99 probably will do you just fine. So it is set up. I'm such a genius whenever I'm not rattled. It is set up so that you could wrap this around this in such a way that you can fit it down. These have little edges, and you can wrap it around. And you can tape it. You could glue it in to this little, glue it on to that if you want, although I think it will end up being wrinkly unless you're using a cardstock. You could use some tape like this to go around the top edge so that it sticks up there, and then perhaps add some glue, you know, just under this flap right here. So you can play with it different ways. By itself, this certainly gives it more strength to wrap it onto this. You can center your design, and then you can cut this so that it doesn't have to be all completely wrapped around underneath like that is, if that's making sense. You can just wrap it once, but honestly, I don't mind wrapping it a little bit because of the stability. But if you're using a very heavy cardstock like some of these, then you may need to cut it in order for it to wrap without feeling like it's too bunchy or whatever. So I'm sorry for that confusion. Alrighty, so that's cute like that. I like it like that. Like I say, this is paper that I use that's cardstock paper, and it's way thicker than this is. So it's just a matter of whether making the cone by hand is going to irritate you more or less. This is much more open at the top than mine is, you can see. So if you had a whole bunch of stuff to stick in there, wrapping it around one like this would be to your advantage as opposed to, but it doesn't matter which one you do, you're going to be able to use this same design. If it's too big, you can, if you wanted to do one of these super tiny ones, you can shrink this image, this whole thing down, this whole thing can just be shrunk down until it fits around this. You may just have to play with the placement of the paper so that the design itself comes out in the front. And if this begins to overlap in some way, just trim it down, you know, it won't hurt. See, look at the difference between this one. You could actually set it up so that you were putting this like this and trimming it down so then it would fit on it once you made your own pattern out of these. So this was only used, this tiny little tip piece is only used to make that final curl right there. But I don't know many people that are putting tiny things inside these for Halloween. So you may not even need that little tiny bit of wraparound like that. It's just something to look at and see. Okie dokie. Let's see if these are the same size. They are. Okay. So this one I printed on some bees, which I thought would be really fun on the inside. This is another one that's printed with a pumpkin on the inside. So there's nothing super hard about any of this. You're going to need some kind of ribbon. I've got these, you know, I've got stuff like this. I've got black, just plain black tulle, which is nice. It looks great. You can tie a ribbon around it. You know how you can buy those bundles of Halloween ribbon, just a bunch of them. I'll show you one that I made just from scratch with some thin paper. This was, I left the inside plain because it would be filled with stuff. I put a few die cuts on it. I put some of my cheesecloth, which I took in the backyard and sprayed with a bunch of the dilution inks and things, you know, just different sprays that I had of different things, and then just let it dry. That's a really fun way to play with cheesecloth, and you can make it for any season, so it's pretty fun. This was just stickers from things. I put a little bit of solar paste. I'm not sure you can actually see it. I put some Stickles on it. You know, it's just a little cutie thing. So I'm going to pull these out so that you can kind of see. This is really made without having to print this out. It's just, I took just regular scrapbooking paper like this, but I used thin paper. I did not use cardstock. It was easier to manage at the bottom. I cut it out with this, which you would make this by tearing one of these apart very gently along the seam, and it comes apart like a dream, and then trace it. So that's super simple. I can't trace that for you because that's a commercial product, and I'm not allowed to trace that out for you, but you certainly can. Okay, so we put that in there. We put in this little rosy-dozy. And I'm gonna make that come up a little bit. Okay, I like tulle. Okay, and then I'm gonna stick my little twigs, and like I say, this one's bigger, so it looks a little less full with just these 3 in there. But this would be fun, you know, for kids to put, and you can put a plastic eyeball or a sticky frog or something like that. And then you can have them hanging up when people come in to claim their own, if they're all different. Put their names on it if you want to. Could do all sorts of fun things with that. So that's one just made, wrapping it with paper after you've made your little pattern. Just wrapping it with that paper. You can see that this, once you cut a cardstock pattern after you've torn that apart, it's an exact fit on this, and so it's super easy. And then you just decorate it with whatever. I think I would, if I were doing it again, I would just use a tissue paper decorated, because there's lots of fun decorations for Halloween in tissue paper right now. You just have to be careful when you stick your design, like if you stick stickers on it, you can't reposition them because tissue paper will definitely tear. Okay, so that's that one. Let me take this all back apart. This is so cheap to do. I got these little jewels for on sale back in the back at Michael's for $3. I believe that there are 12 or 10 in this one, in this size. So that's just dirt cheap. This ribbon, if you're like me, you've got tons of this different kinds of ribbon around. If you're not like me, and you're, you can just go and buy at Michael's or Hobby Lobby bundles of ribbon that are theme oriented, like this one's Halloween, and there's a ton of it in there. The other thing you can do is you can go to thrift shops and buy shirts in a fabric that you like, if they're in Halloween colors, and just cut and tear strips. Nothing looks better for Halloween decorations than to have torn strips that have ragged edges on both sides. It just ups the element with no effort on your part other than just the tearing. So it's very easy then to do this, you know, without it costing an arm and a leg. And of course you can upgrade it too. You can go all out, buy the top level stickers and all of that kind of thing too, and make incredibly gorgeous. You can wrap those things in silk or different kinds of rayon that fold really nicely and glue very easy. There's beautiful little cotton fabrics out there if you want to do it in cotton, you know. So there's, again, the world is your oyster, so just dive right in. Okie dokie. So can't get much easier than this. Again, I put those red on there. If I were, in fact, I am going to do some more. I'm actually going to extend this so that when I cut it, it's actually going to have a checkerboard black and orange. You can buy, in fact, it even comes in certain programs, but you can buy paper that's that way, or you can buy paper ribbon, like you can buy tapes that are that way, and I just think that would actually be pretty. But if you're printing, if you're using a silhouette, most likely a cameo also, but I mean a Cricut, I don't know how to use a Cricut, but same thing. They have patterns galore that you could print right on the bottom of this, and I just think that would be really cute to have a grid across the bottom. Okie dokie. This is gonna, I need to put this side under so it doesn't overlap my little gal. And it's, when you just have to mess with it to pull it around to get it to where you want it to be. Once you get it kind of roughly, you want to pull your edges up so that they're flush. Okay, and then you're going to turn it until well, now this was one I printed not upright. That's what that, I knew there was a reason why I had those setting to the side. But it doesn't matter. This, you'll get the idea whenever you see it. Do I have any others that I printed correctly? Okay. This is not the pattern you'll get. The pattern you'll get will actually fold correctly. So, let's see if this one was printed correctly. Yes. Sorry. Boy, howdy, I'm going to do more editing than I'm going to be doing talking on this one. I'm really having a crazy mess today. So, but you all are so kind and so patient, and I'm sure you'll be very sweet about it. I really like this bee in here, by the way. I'm gonna look through my stash and see if I've got any other bees, because I think those would be really, they're just fun. They're a little creepy for Halloween, but not too creepy. They're still, and this one's kind of an elegant bee, so. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm just adjusting this so that I want to get as much of this edge up matching. That helps with closing this little bit a little bit. Okay, that looks, you just mess around with it until you get it where you like it. Okay, and she is another one that's off center. Before I post my little pattern for you, I'll make sure that the one I'm posting is not off center, because boy, that's aggravating if it's not what you want. But I printed so many different versions. I gotta show you. I started with her. She was the first little iteration. And then trying to line up my angle. I have no geometry brain. Trying to line up my angle so that she was upright and that this wasn't coming around too far. And so, as you can see, that was silly. It took me a while. I am so in awe of people who just go, oh, well, that's because you don't have your radius set to blah, blah, blah. But that is not me. Okay, she's cockeyed. That's the way I printed her. I'll make sure that I don't print yours that way so that you don't have to mess with this. But, I mean, really, she's still awfully cute, don't you think? Just with, even if she's a little tilted, she's awfully cute. So now I'm just going to make it go as big as I want it without it not being centered properly. And then this is a time when Tim Holtz's little happy tiny stapler is a good thing. It's also very easy on old arthritis hands. So I do one like that direction, and then I do one sort of cockeyed. So it's both ways that it might pull are going to be okay. I then use this fine line glue because it gets in between under here. And again, I'm not too worried about the bottom because I'm going to put big things in there. So just if you're putting some kind of really tiny, if you're trying to give them some kind of plant seeds or something, You might want to put them in a package if you're going to use this idea rather than just putting them in there. This dries very clear. You can use this. It helps to just give you something to push on. I'm going to use some of this because it doesn't make any difference if this has got glue on it or not. On my weird cheesecloth, it just doesn't matter. Okay. All right. So that little gal is ready. Oh, I've got a mess. Okay. And one other little thing I think I'm going to do with her is I don't want to put glitter on them because that's an aggravation. But I think crackling campfire might be awful cute. If you have a red, I think that would be cute too. Just to give it a little something. Okay, I won't put it down here because I'm not going to seal it, and this stuff is really bad about, you know, coming off on people's fingers. So, I like that. Now, I am going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to wrap this around, and I wrapped it around 3 times. 2 is going to be enough. I'll show you why. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to cut this. Ooh, sorry. That'll make you lose your lunch, huh? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I folded this because I wanted it to be a little bunchy but a little loose as well, if that makes sense. I didn't want it to just be all matchy-matchy. This is Halloween after all. And I do want it to go over. Okay. And again, I can go down over that a little bit. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up, and this will make sense in a second. Okay, now I'm going to do my first little staple right behind here to hold this on. And I'm always putting the head to the outside. Okay, so now I'm done with that. You could glue it if you want, but I have not found that this hurts anybody. I haven't found that it comes through enough to cause anyone's fingers to get pinched or anything like that. Okay, so we can stretch it around however we want. Let it go long or short. You can put beads on here. You can see where I was playing with little, I was playing with these little purple strips of things that I had. You could put some of those around. You could take some Stickles. I think this is a green. I'm not going to do it because I don't want it to tip over. But you know, you can just dab them on like this. You just dab these Stickles. They have a little tiny opening on the thing, and then you just dab them around, and it's just a little bit of cute glitter. I'm sure you folks have done that before. Okay, I don't want to get rid of my this is Halloween words, so I do want to make sure. These are not going to be heirlooms. They're not intended to be heirlooms. So if you want them to be an heirloom, then be real careful. But I'm using them because I know somebody's going to keep them for a while, maybe pass it on to somebody else, and then they're going to be done with it. They're not going to want to keep it around. So now this I thought about would be fun to do. So let's see. Let's see if it's fun to do or not. It may not be, but let's just see. Okay, so let's just see here. I think like that. Like that. I'll put you right there. Oh, you're not going to be tight enough, are you? No, never mind. I won't try to be fancy with it. Let me just tie it to something and then I'll glue it onto my... Now this would be cute actually too. Or some black polka dots maybe. You know, that I think may be good. This is, let me just show you this looks like. I have all kinds of tulle. That's fun. Am I gonna want that in there? Nah, I have some that's, let me try some of this. Let me just try the black rather than the, okay, because I don't want the polka dot on the inside too for all of them. I'm gonna put some with orange. I've got green, I've got blood red, you know, stuff like that. Just make it fun to have different tulle. And this one too, you know, it's got such pretty paper on the inside. I hate to cover it up, but probably nobody would care about that but me. Okay, so here's my little doohickeys. If I had, and I may do that myself, it's fun to stick other Halloween type things in here. Like a fun thing to put in here would be, you can buy bones, you know, just little bones that are decorative. You can buy little tiny skulls, things like that. So if you don't have a lot of people, that would be really cute to put a skull in here and then put your candy in on top of it. So I love Halloween because it's just a time to be completely silly. And yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for the numbers that are going up, despite my being so terribly slow about getting new things done. Thank you for the likes and the comments that I've gotten, and I just appreciate y'all so much. And boy, once I get this next round of crazy busy over with, then I have so many ideas, and I've almost got my room in shape. I dare not let you see. Almost have it in shape so that I can get my hands on stuff to be able to do things. So just thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a great day.